and welcome to what is the final full week of term. And we've hit a moment in time where even I have succumbed to entering the Christmas spirit. So we find ourselves this morning with me positioned neatly by the side of the Christmas tree that stands proudly in the entrance to the main school. I have to say, if one were to enter the building of Field House in September, I think Mrs. Cusack had already got the Christmas tree up and the tinsel out. And that is because Mrs. Cusack loves Christmas, and Mrs. Cusack wanted to lighten the spirits in otherwise quite difficult times. So very well done, Mrs. Cusack. I know that you've been building up to Christmas for at least 3 months. The rest of us are now getting into full swing. And yes, Christmas is all about the trees, the lights, the tinsel, and dare I say, the prezzies that lie under the tree. But it's also important that we remember the message of Christmas, delivered through the Christmas story. So in this week's assembly, and indeed next week's assembly, I will spend a few moments recounting that all-important story, which of course appears in the New Testament of the Christian Bible. And whenever I speak to the boys about the Christian Bible, we usually can get about as far as an Old Testament and a New Testament, and then things start to fall apart when I ask the question, what are the first 4 books of the New Testament? And we do get some names thrown at us, and occasionally the boys land on the right name. And the first 4 books in the Christian Bible are Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. The 4 Gospels at the start that tell us about the life of Jesus. But only one of those books actually really concentrates on the Christmas story. And that is the Gospel according to St. Luke, who focuses quite closely on it. Matthew mentions it a bit as well. But it is Luke's Gospel where we hear most about the Christmas story and the message that goes with it. And the story requires some context, because it is set, as we all know, just over 2,000 years ago, when the Romans ruled most of the known world. And the backdrop to the story, before we get anywhere near Bethlehem, is this, and there are 2 elements to it. Mary is visited, and she's visited by the angel Gabriel. And the angel Gabriel says to Mary, right, you're going to have a baby. And Mary says, I don't think I am. But the angel Gabriel says, trust me, you will have a baby. So Mary thinks, well, that is most unusual, but accepts the message that is delivered. That's the first part of the story. The second part of the story lies in the fact that the Roman emperor at the time, Augustus, wanted to do what's called a census. He wanted, and he was doing this all the time, all around his empire. He wanted to know how many people in the empire, where they were and what they were doing. And he liked to keep track on what was going on. So at various points, about 2,000 years ago, 2,020 years ago, Augustus wanted to go to various parts of the empire, and he wanted a census to be carried out. And on this occasion, he goes to the magnificently named Publius Quirinius, who was actually his governor in Syria at the time. And he says, right, I want you to carry out a census. And in carrying out that census, everyone had to go to their hometown to register, which is why Joseph and his wife Mary made the journey down from Nazareth to Bethlehem to take part in the census so that Augustus could keep tabs on his empire. It also explains why, when they get to Bethlehem, it is so busy. So, according to the history and indeed the Christian Bible, the journey is undertaken. Mary, who has been told that she's expecting a baby, and Joseph, who she's due to marry, they're engaged, they make that journey and they arrive in Bethlehem, where it is so crowded they have no room in any hotels or any inns, which is why they end up in a stable. And there ends the first part, the background, if you like, to our Christmas story, which I will relay and recount to you next week.